They finally let him out of the cage. Dr. Fauci is back, and he's not back necessarily in the way that we would want. In his first appearance on national television in nearly a month, Fauci returned to the airwaves in order to say that the Biden administration may need to bring back mask mandates if necessary. Let's take a listen.
We have to be careful that if we do see a surge as a result of that we're flexible enough to reinstitute the kinds of interventions that could be necessary to stop an additional surge.
That could mean a return of mandatory masking, especially in areas of high transmission.
So mandatory masking, that could come back. That's kind of amazing. And you pair that then with his most recent appearance on the Sunday show in order to echo a similar sentiment. Let's take a listen to that.
You know, you've said you're going to stay in this job until we get out of the pandemic phase. Of course, you've been serving your country now for decades. Are we approaching the point where we are past the pandemic phase and you'll go get some rest?
I'm not so sure, George. I want to make sure we're really out of this before I really seriously consider doing anything different. We're still in this. We have a way to go. I think we're clearly going in the right direction. I hope we stay that way.
Well, there we go. So, Krystal, I think it's very interesting to see Fauci reemerge and say that we may need to bring back mask mandates and more. I do have to say, are the Biden people too stupid to not keep this man off of the airwaves in order to, COVID was dead. Everybody was moving on. And yet he somehow is unable to say, no, this would be the time for him to step down, right? He's certainly lost a lot of credibility with the people, but the culture war is not as hot at this time around masking and lockdowns. This would be the time to go and declare victory and say, hey, look, I did my best. I'm 80-something years old. It's time for me to go. But I just don't think he can handle himself not being on TV and not being the center of the spotlight.
I mean, one thing you do have to say for Dr. Fauci is he looks incredible for his age.
I
cannot,
right? He's a doctor.
Right. He's clearly has some secret sauce for taking care of himself. I didn't think the comments were that outrageous of being like, if things change, then things might change. But I think your broader point about listen, I know liberals love Dr. Fauci, they've got their little votive candles, they got their I trust Dr. Fauci signs and all that stuff. But the reality is he has lost a lot of trust with the people that you most need to have a trusted figure in place with. And there has been a significant shift from the Biden administration on how they're talking about COVID and how they're approaching these things. And so you would want a messenger who would be perhaps a little bit more in step with the direction that they are ultimately going in.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. So, look, at the same time, also, we wanted to bring you some news around Ivermectin. Obviously, there was a lot of controversy and around that. Let's put this up there on the screen. So, in their largest trial to date, and this is from the Wall Street Journal, which is Ivermectin did not reduce COVID-19 hospitalizations in the largest trial to date that they saw there. They said that patients who got the anti-parasitic drug didn't fare better than those who received a placebo. Now, I'm sure the pro-Ivermectin folks may have something to say. I tried to see what exactly the criticism of this was. It seemed like a pretty good study from some of the doctors and others that I follow, and I think that it really just goes to show you that this is what we needed the entire time. We needed a legitimate view as to whether a double-blind placebo-controlled study as to whether this was going to work or not. The whole culture war that erupted over this at the time was totally ridiculous. Prescribing it, especially as a medical doctor, should not have been shunned or shamed given what we knew at the time. And any sort of intervention for therapeutic drugs like fluvoxamine, ivermectin, any of these should have been on the table and open to a real investigation. And instead, because the media is what it is, they have to simply rot, they have to have their brains rotted. But we have the data now, so maybe, given that we've all moved on, it doesn't matter as much anymore. And we have the COVID pill, but there it is.
Here we
for those
are.
who care.
Now that it's, so late that it does it in the game.
Here it is,
doesn't make that much of a difference. We have a decent study that
Right.
says it does not look like it has worked.
Okay.
The last piece that we wanted to show you here is potentially worrying signs that we may see another COVID spike. Let's go ahead and put this. This is kind of an early indicator. COVID-19 is being found increasingly in U.S. wastewater, sewage systems. So the numbers here, nearly 40% of wastewater sampling sites reported at least some increase over the past 15 days. That's more than twice what it was a month ago. The CDC has found throughout the COVID pandemic that wastewater is one of the sort of early leading indicators of when we may see a rise in terms of COVID. There's this new variant that's really taken off in Europe, BA2, that seems to be equally mild as Omicron, but even more infectious. which has caused a spike there. All indications are that our existing vaccines, especially the mRNA vaccines, continue to be effective against it. So I don't think there's any reason to panic about this. You know, we're not facing the early days when we didn't have vaccines and we didn't have effective treatments and we didn't know what was going on. We're not headed back there, but you know, just to sort of note that we may see another increase because of this new, even more infectious variant that could be coming.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it, you get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.